Good evening, everybody. My name is Rick Utzer here with AirgunWeb TV Live, and it's been a while since we've been down here in the studio, but it's time. It's time to get back into this and talk about some cool airgun products. I'd love to be doing this on my YouTube channel, really would, but they've got this weird thing where they don't know the difference between an airgun and a real gun, and if I touch something, oh my God, they'll, we just might lose the stream. So we're here on Facebook. We will be editing these videos and we will be publishing them on the YouTube channel. So those that want to go back and watch it there, or maybe, if you're watching it here, you say, why didn't I catch it live? Well, now you know why. Anyway, so we're going to get into the SWA Airgun. So what is this? You guys have heard me talking about it for probably about a year now. These are essentially 20 gauge air shotguns. Now, the 20 gauge air shotgun's not new. You guys may know Terry Tate. You may know Professional Big Bore Airguns. Essentially, these are his creation. Okay, so no big secret there. Terry's got a version which is the break open modular system where you can drop, insert barrels in and take your 20 gauge and make it a 357 or a 457 or a 257 or whatever you want to do, and he's still doing those. He's still making them, and they are really cool air guns. But he and I got to talking one day about, can we do maybe a multi-shot variation, and that's really where this came to be. And we've gone through different iterations and a lot of growing pains over the last couple of years, and we finally, after the expo, had really nailed down two of the variants, which is these two right here. But this one was still a bit of a wild card. This is the long gun, and we had originally wanted to put this in a wood stock, and we still can. The issue is that it really jacks the price up. And not that, we can do it. If you want this gun, multi-shot SWA, in a wood stock, we can do that. It adds maybe $250 to the price. So it does really jack the price up a bit. So rather than try and make something more expensive than it needed to be, we really like what these were doing. And the fact is that this is really the same, the action's the same. So regardless of the barrel length or tube length or whatever we're doing, if we put this adapter on the end of the gun versus the just, regular one, we can put an AR stock, and now we've got a long gun. So let's talk a little bit about each of these models, what we're selling on Airgun Pro Shop, and if you guys are interested, we have everything is in stock. Now, some of the product will be coming in next week. It's just being finalized, but it's in stock. It's just being put together. I do have a couple of the pistols still in actually on the shelf. One just sold. So we're starting to see product move, which is great for us. It's great for Terry and our manufacturer. So, but let's go ahead and get into each of these various models. Again, you want to see pricing, whatever. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Or if you have questions, certainly ask Sue. She's here. Hi, Sue. Hi. Yeah, she's.
Sorry, my mute was on.
Your mic was muted?
Yeah.
Your mute was mic'd?
Yeah, that's
anyway,
it.
But she's here with us again. I actually got a comment on YouTube says somebody had mentioned you need to get Sue on there more often. So hey, here she is.
As long as they mean audio, not video.
We're going to put a camera over there. Absolutely. We'll get a nice little backdrop. You can be sitting on the beach somewhere.
I've got to train Naomi.
Yeah. Anyway, so let's go through the different models. So and different features. So let's start with the pistol. So this is, I say pistol, and that's kind of a loose definition. That's a big pistol. But it's a pistol grip. It's meant to be extremely maneuverable and small and portable, and that is what it's designed to do. Now, you might think that this is anemic on the power setting or the power levels. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to set this down behind me here. Cool. Real quick shout out to Ransom Rest, Ransom International, for these awesome rests. They gave us these for the expo, and I've been using the dickens out of them. All right, so here's the pistol, and what you have is essentially an 8-inch barrel. Now this is smooth bore. It is not threaded for a choke, so it is what it is. Didn't really see the point of trying to put a choke on this. We really didn't think it was going to do any good. Each of these models uses the exact same magazine. It is a 2-shot shuttle magazine. I don't know if you want to switch to the upper camera there, if they can see that mag, Sue.
Yep, done.
Okay, so that's your magazine, and it only goes in one way, It's got small holes here, big holes here, but these little ridges are shaped differently. So if I go to put this in the gun backwards, it won't go. It won't work. But if I put it in the right way, here it is, it just snaps into place. Now to go to your next shot, you pull the release and it just clicks into place. You just move it. So that is how the multi-shot works.
Where do you pull the release?
Right here, on here, this little.
On the other side?
It's ambidextrous, so you can pull it either side. So it's really designed to pull both at the same time. And the cool thing on the newer models, we've beveled this edge of the mag both sides, so it can go in from the right side, and you just push it, and it actually moves the support pin or the locking pin, and it clicks, and it just, there you go. So it's very, very cool and slick the way that works, and you can go in from either side. All right. So each of these comes with a 2-shot magazine. We are thinking about, you can go back to the regular camera. We are thinking about additional shot magazines. Now, this gun, this gun has a 12-inch tube and 8-inch barrel. This is going to give you 2 shots, and we'll talk about performance now on how this one performs. This gun will do, like I said, basically 2 shots. And if you're shooting these 400 grain slugs, which these things are beastly, they're 400 grains. I don't know if you want to give an overhead shot of those, Sue. But those are 400 grains. And in that gun, they're doing about 190 foot-pounds. And there's going to be some variations between model to model. So this one may be a few foot-pounds more. Another one may be a few foot-pounds less. Another one may be a few foot-pounds more. There's going to be a range that these guns shoot in. It's just the nature of the beast with these. They are extremely simple. There's just a simple knock-open valve. There's a handful of O-rings. Anyone really that wants to could very easily just simply take one of these apart, field strip it, put it back together. I mean, when I say field strip it, down to bare parts and put it back together in about 10 or 15 minutes. And there's no little teeny bitty parts. It's all, Allen wrenches, or maybe you might get one that has a Phillips head, a number 2 Phillips. But these are really designed to be extraordinarily serviceable by the end user. There's really nothing to go wrong with them. Built like a tank. Yes, they're heavy. They are relatively hard to cock, and as I just realized on this one, because I was filling it up earlier, there it was cocked, so we'll just take that. Put the safe back on. So they are relatively hard to cock. It's a big heavy springer, they're a big heavy hammer. So let's talk a little bit about that aspect of the entire line of guns. There are a bunch of air guns out there that are super quiet. It's just like whisper quiet. They're super easy to cock, and these guns are not that. These guns are loud. They're beastly loud. In fact, they're more like shooting a firearm than anything like an air gun. Frankly, that's one of the things I really love about them. I have people calling me up more and more actually wanting something that's got a little fun to it, that's got some noise to it, that's got some kick to it. These guns have all of that, and that's one of the reasons I really like them. Now, one of the cool things you can do with any of the guns, this one actually has the adapter at the end where you can go ahead and put an AR stock on it. That's my favorite way to rig this up. Now, on our website, we're selling it as the pistol, and I think the price is like $12.95, something along that line. Maybe Sue can look it up for me. It'll be under SWA. But this is, you could add any AR stock. If you have one, you could just screw it right in there and you're all set. Obviously, you take the buffer and the spring and put that aside. But the tube and then the stock and you're set. And now you have a very, very nice little micro carbine. Now, what I plan on using this for, specifically that gun, is here at the ranch, man, we get a lot of rattlesnakes. And having this just in the truck with me or whatever is just really easy to just hop out, pop, and no more rattlesnake. Now, obviously, I'm not going to use the 400 grain slug for that. I am going to use some sort of shot to make that happen. So I did want to show you guys, there's been a lot of questions and frankly a lot of confusion about what ammo this uses. In fact, there was one gentleman I was talking to, it was kind of funny. He asked, what caliber is it? I said, it's 20 gauge. He said, so it uses 20 cal pellets? I said, no, it's 20 gauge. not 20 cal. So I want to kind of go through the distinction between, you know, what you can actually load in these guns, because they are 20 gauge. That's 62 caliber essentially. We're going to show you how to load. That work all right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to take this and slide this over. Okay, so these, you don't buy bullets for these, right? So what you're going to do is, here's your magazine. You get one. We will have the ability to buy more of them. So that's not a big deal. We are going to have plenty of these mags available. They are, just so you guys know, these are milled out of Delrin. These are not just cast crappy, well, no, let me put it this way. They're not injection molded, generic, cheap stuff. These are actually, you know, milled just like you would a block of aluminum. These are milled Delrin, and there's a little bit of secret sauce in that whole process to let them do what they do, which I won't talk about. But what you're going to do here is you're going to take a 20 cal, or 20 cal, I just did it myself, 20 gauge wad, and you're going to drop it in there. It comes with this little loading tool, and you're going to drive that down into the bottom. Now, each one of these guns is going to come with a starter kit. And in that starter kit, you're going to get a little shot cup. If you have one of the rifles that takes a choke, you're going to get a cylinder choke. I'll get to the other models. If you get one of the models with a stock, whether it's the short one or the long one, you're also going to get a rifled choke. So that's for shooting the slugs. And this is your rifled choke here. We have these as individual purchases on the site as well. I will. That's your rifle choke, and you probably can't see it, but there's actually got rifling in it. So it gives you the last, however long that is, as a bit of rifling. So as that slug goes through, it gives it a little bit of spin. It really does help the accuracy. So each of the models that come with the stock also come standard with the rifle choke, and it comes with the improved cylinder choke. If you want a modified or an extra full, we also have those chokes as well. So if you're shooting shot and want to tighten that pattern up, you can certainly do that with like an extra full, for example. All right, so I've put my first wad in there. Now I've got some different ammo here. I'll just lay them down. I've got some steel shot, some nickel-plated lead. These are both number 4, and these are what's called F-buck, which is essentially 22 cal nickel-plated lead shot. And what you can do, really we found the best, I say we, what Terry tells me, the best shot for really patterning with just shot is going to be your number 4. For whatever reason, just the weight of each of the little BBs and the size just seems to work really well for air and the 20 gauge. So we're going to look at the number 4 here, and you can vary how much you use per shot simply by the little cup we give you. Is an adjustable cup. This is a Lee cup measure, and it's 3/4 of an ounce there, or excuse me, 7/8 of an ounce there. And then if I click it here, that gives me 1 ounce. That's an ounce and an eighth, ounce and a quarter, ounce and 3/4, or excuse me, ounce and a half. I get my math right here. No, there's ounce and a quarter, 1 3/8. There it is. There's 1 1/2, 1 5/8, 1 3/4. Okay, so you get it. You make it bigger. What? My wife's laughing at me.
Somebody went.
Yes, yes. Who went that?
Vicky Benfield.
Oh yes. Okay. Anyway, there we go. You guys figured it out. It's perfect for a guy like me because it's right on it. I don't have to guess how many clicks is how many eighths. It's written on there, right? You got it. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and for giggles, I'm going to set this to 1 ounce and an eighth, and I'm going to use my nickel-plated lead shot here. And as you guys can imagine, this is not rocket science. Maybe measuring eighths is rocket science, but this part isn't. We just pour that in there.
So you put that in after you've put that little brown doodad in?
Right. So you put this in, that creates a gas check at the bottom. So and also so your pellets don't fall out the hole. Now, some people have asked if you can use like shot wads, Cups, yeah, absolutely. You can do that too. Whatever you got. Here's the beauty of this gun. The whole thing about this platform is we wanted it to be, super. Are you back at the main camera now? We wanted it to be just super flexible. I mean, I've got some round ball, and this was picked up. Terry sent this to me just to play with. This is .61 round. Look at the massive size of that stuff. It's huge, right? And that, if I wanted to, I could just drop that in there. I'm going to make a mess now. In fact, you could. I did make a mess. I only lost one. It's fine. I'll put it back in. But you get the idea too. That you can load whatever. If I had nuts and bolts, it doesn't matter. If you have wadding and you want to shove something in there, throw it out the end of your SWA, you can actually do that, and you're not going to hurt the gun. All right, so there you are. Now we're going to finish it off with another wad. There it is. Okay, now if you want to just tap it, just make sure it's settled in there. Okay, so there's quite a bit of room still left in there. So if you wanted to run a heavier load, you certainly can. You can figure out what load works best for you. Maybe you want to run number 8 or number 7, or maybe you want to run buckshot, or it doesn't matter. You guys get the point. If it fits in there, it's going to go out the gun. It's going to be fine. So there you go. Now, I would not run slugs with a choke, like, the rifle choke, yes, but I wouldn't run slugs with, an improved cylinder choke, or, well, that's probably okay, but I probably wouldn't run it through a modified or these others. So, I mean, you do want to be smart about that. And I wouldn't want to run shot through the rifle choke. So, use your head there. But if you just need to send something down range, like this load here, we had a rattlesnake just recently we had to put down, and I was wishing I had my my SWA with me, because it would have just been so convenient. Walk over, boom, done. I mean, it would just obliterate it very, 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 very quickly. All right, so that's how you load that. And if you want to load the slugs, I'll show you, like here on our gun here. Just pop the mag out. On this one, if I wanted to load the slugs, it's going to be the same basic process, except you don't need to use a wad. So if I not drop that in there, if I want to just load the slug, these slugs are, what you'd use to reload a 20 gauge slug. These are DGS slugs. We do have some inventory. I know that they've been really hard to find, and for our SWA customers, we did buy some in advance of all the craziness. So we do have some in stock for those that want them. All right, so now that is ready to roll, just like that. And now you've got, obviously, if you get extra mags, you could have one loaded with one shot. You could have this loaded with slugs. And in the field, whatever situation you're in, you could pop in whatever mag you needed. And for me, that's one of the things I love about this gun. And the fact that you have 2 shots on tap versus just one. And now there are some changes coming up, obviously. Most of your high-powered big bore guns are just single shot. Well, this gives you 2 shots. The pistol's 2 shots. The carbine is 3 shots, maybe a 4th if you set it up to do that. The long gun will give you 4 shots, and it's because the tube's just slightly bigger in each one. Okay, so Angie wanted to know effective range and so forth. This is, we're going to say 190 foot-pounds, and we've had some do more, but we'll just say 190 foot-pounds. Terry had some folks over at his place shooting steel silhouettes at 50 yards with a doggone thing. Now, I wouldn't hunt at 50 yards with it, but if I was 30 yards or 25 yards up at a tree stand or something, man, how much easier would it be to carry something like that up than all the other gear you may need to want to take up with you? So to me, I think that is awesome. But that is, I would say, maybe a 25-yard slug gun or hard projectile. If you're doing shot, closer. It's 15, 20, maybe 15 yards. It's really, you guys can, I hope, understand the utility of something like this without me actually having to really say it. I mean, there's some great utility for something this small that's air-powered, that's generating, close to 200 foot-pounds. There's some utility there. And those guys that can only shoot black powder and other things may like something like this for various different reasons. You guys, I hope, understand what I'm saying, being pretty subtle, but not really. But it's a great utility piece. When we move over, especially if you do the stock, you add a carbine or a little AR stock to that, it really makes it very, 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 very nice that way. If we move over to the carbine, and this gun is unique in the sense that it is just, this really opens up a lot of different hunting opportunities right here. Where the pistol is really very close range and utility, this thing has greater utility in that it's producing on the low side 350 foot-pounds and on the upper side over 375. So we're talking about energy in that tiny little package. I mean, we are talking something very small here. And that little guy producing 350 plus foot-pounds is just doggone impressive. I've mounted a Hawk Endurance. This is the 1-4, I think. Is it? Yeah. This is the 1-4. It's an expensive scope. I mean, for me, I think it's a pricey piece of glass because it's $400 or $500. But for this, it's a 1-to-1 starting point. So target acquisition. If you're hunting hogs, this is a 50-yard killing machine. That's what this is for. The slugs out of this with the rifle choke, you're going to get two slugs touching at 50 yards, and a third one's going to drop a little bit low. You're going to have to know your gun if you're going to try and take a third shot. I wouldn't. But 2 shots, you're going to get 2 pretty close shots. Now, there is a caveat to that, is that because each gun's a little bit different, when you get your gun, you'll want to fill it to, say, 3,200 and crony your 2 shots. And if your first shot's really powerful and your second shot's not, then add a little bit, go to 3,300 PSI, add a little more air to it. We got a question?
Angie said it's super light too. How much does it weigh?
I haven't weighed it, although we have a scale handy. There's a scale right over there, Sue. Why don't you grab me that scale? We'll get that information. We'll put it up on the website because I don't really know. Okay. This is with the scope. With the scope, let me make sure we're on 0 here. Add a little bit to it. Okay, so we're zeroed out. With the scope, I'd say 7.5 pounds with the scope. I mean, without the scope, it's not a heavy optic, but it's probably, let's say, 7 pounds or just under 7 pounds without an optic. And it does come on the starter kit, does come with a clip-on fiber optic sight. And what we've done, it's going to be hard to see it on camera here, Sue, but let me see if I can get you to take a shot from the upper camera. And I'll try and show folks on the pistol here. But on the pistol, there's a groove that runs right down the top.
Move forward, would you? No, you can see it.
There's a groove that runs right down the top. And so when you clip the sight on, that groove is actually what you use to line your sight up. Then we cut a notch in the magazine too. So that's kind of a cool little thing. We thought about that. I should say Terry thought about that. All right, so we've talked about this. This is, let's say, 6 and a bit pounds, almost 7 pounds without the scope. Same deal, 2 shots with a third in reserve. There's 2 models of this. I've got one that's a little bit cheaper than what you see here. It is just the pistol grip shotgun. So it's sort of the same utility purpose of that one that you would have without the stock or the rifle choke, because it's just meant to shoot very close range, maybe 15, 20 feet. You're going to shoot these big round balls or maybe a slug or maybe some of the buckshot or something. And it's just from here to there, and you're just not really concerned about hunting with it. It's very utilitarian in that sense, and maybe you don't want the stock. So we have that model that comes, and then we have this model which comes with the stock. Again, if you get the ones with the stock, scope's not included, but you get the ones with the stock, it comes with the rifle choke. So this one, I was shooting this yesterday, just doing some final testing, and we've done some upgrades on the triggers and the valving and that kind of stuff. But on my tests, I was getting like between 630-ish feet per second, which is right a little above 350. And I've seen these go over 650. So it's right in that range, depending on if you can balance that pressure just right. And again, going back to that process, I would spend some time with this. I would, fill it to say 33, shoot it. And if that first one is super massive and the second one's not quite as much, or by a big margin, I would take it up to 34. And what's going to happen is going to give you about 2 relatively equal shots when you find that perfect pressure. And that's that's how I tune them. That's what I do, find that perfect pressure, and then you're going to be getting those 2 really good shots. If you get a shot, the first shot is really anemic and the second shot is like massive, then you've got too much air in it, so you back down your pressure when you fill it. There's no gauge on this, and it's really, you're 2 shots and you're done, essentially, is how I put it. We may do like a 3-shot mag for the long gun as standard. We haven't decided yet. But then you do 3 shots and refill. It's really kind of simple. The other thing too is, if you switch to the other camera, Sue, right here, this is the...
You need to move it forward.
Move forward. So this is the cocking handle here. If it is flush up against the edge here, that means that this rifle is bone empty. If it's sitting off a little bit, it has some air in it. You just sort of know that. But just by looking at it, you can see if it's got something going on. Now, I don't want to put a magazine in this because I don't want to put a loaded mag in this, so it's just going to stay open. And now we're going to talk about the long gun. Yes, Sue?
We have someone who's moving to the USA just so they can own a PCP and not get into trouble. And Jeff would like to know if you've taken anything yet.
Nothing as of yet, although there's some plans for some coyotes. We could certainly do all the small game in the world. We've got jackrabbits and that kind of stuff coming back around here. I'm a little leery of going to hunt them just for hunting's sake. But I do want to know how far I could stretch it. So I may do some collared dove around the ranch. It is very, very loud. So I maybe wouldn't want to do that around our animals because they might spook, and they really don't like me. They don't like me shooting up there, the animals that is, don't like me shooting up there with my suppressed super quiet air gun. So I can only imagine something like this drive the horses nuts. So I have to figure something out. But I know Joe, I sent one of these to Joe. If you guys watch the video from
And
Joe,
put a link in.
from Joe going absolutely nuts, the Airgun Expo, jumping up and down, acting like a crazy man, who some would say, who said he was acting. But Joe was just in love with these guns, and I sent him one. So I'm sure Joe's going to kill some stuff.
He said, "There's my amazing shotgun."
Yes, it's going to be pretty cool. I'm looking forward. I know Joe has something up his sleeve. I'm not going to spoil it because I think when he finally does it, we're going to see it and we're going to go, that's what we want these for. So I'm pumped about that. Anyway, let's get to the long gun because we haven't really seen this iteration. We saw it at Airgun Expo with the wood stock, which is great. And again, we can do that. It's just going to add a lot of money to the price. So this one with the stock, with the rifle choke, we're looking at $14.50. Now we come to this bad boy here, and this one we're still working on the final sort of valve tweaking we're doing on this. Right now we're getting right around $450. Terry was telling me the other day they've done a couple little changes. And we're getting closer to 500. So that's sort of up in the air right now of what it'll ultimately land. So I'm basically saying this is going to give you 450 foot-pounds. 27 L is $15.95. In the scheme of things, I know that that's expensive. In fact, all of these are expensive. There's no way to say, oh, these are super affordable. They're expensive, but they are also all handmade in Texas. Obviously there's some parts that we're sourcing. But these are Blue Fork triggers, if you guys know who Blue Fork is. He makes the trigger groups for us. The stocks are UTG. The mags are made by the same people that make the parts. This is all milled and made here in the States. This is a milled aluminum receiver. This stuff is this is all top shelf stuff, and it's all put together by hand, tested by hand. We go through it. Once Terry goes through it, and Olin go through it, and they sort of get everything right. Then they send it to me, and I go through it again, so that when we ship it out, we know. There's 3 of us that have had our hands on these products to know that when it gets to you, it's supposed to be doing, it's going to be doing what we say it's going to do. And that's, I think, that has, personally, that adds to me, that adds a lot of value to a product. So this is going to be more money. It's the most power. The one cool thing I really like about this, and we may do it on some of the others, we're still working on it, is it's got actually a bead like a regular shotgun would in that stock. So on something like this, you can just line it up, get that bead on, and you're good to go. If you guys have any questions about the SWA line of guns, just email me through Airgun Pro Shop. If you're interested in buying some, go put your order in, and we'll get them out probably middle to end of next week. So that's what we got going on. So we're wrapping it up. I've got the signal. Wrap it up. Stop talking. See you guys. Thanks for watching. Bye.